Whether you realize it or not, you're always working with layers to some extent in Adobe Illustrator. Understanding how layers work and the power that they offer can help you to work more efficiently in Illustrator. Let's take a closer look. I'm beginning this video with the layers.ai file already open on my computer. And I'm going to begin by coming down here to my panel dock, and I'm going to click on the Layers button to open up the Layers panel. Now, I'm going to actually expand this just so it's a little bit easier for me to see all of my content. Now, whenever you create a brand new Illustrator file, you're always going to be working with Layer 1. And that's just the default name. You don't have to name it Layer 1. As a matter of fact, Illustrator makes it really easy to change that. If you double click on the text that says Layer 1, you can give it a new name. So maybe I'll change this to Artwork. That way it's a little more obvious what I'm using this layer for. Now, what I can also do is if you click on this triangle, you'll notice that Illustrator is displaying the stacking order of objects in your document. So the Layers panel is a great way to control the stacking order of objects, and we can see that this is the order from top to bottom, from your viewing angle to the back of the document. You're seeing it how it appears in your document. There's a lot of great tools here. Not only can you rename the layer itself, but if you wish, you can actually rename all of these what we call sublayers. So if I double click on this path, I could call this the green shape, and I could rename all of these. I'm not saying you have to do this, but sometimes when your artwork gets really complex, it makes a lot of sense for you to name these appropriately. So I'll just call this one purple, and last but not least, we'll call this one orange. So if you wanted to be really organized, you could do this in your own document. Now, in addition, what we could do is we can turn on and off the entire layer. So if I click the visibility icon, it's going to hide everything on that layer. Turn it back on. I can also just hide individual items as well. Now, this is also the same way that people have traditionally utilized the hiding feature. So if I click on an object, you also have a feature where you can go to the Object menu under Hide and choose Selection, or use the shortcut Command 3. And when you do that, if you take a notice in the Layers panel, not only did we hide this object, but basically just turned off the visibility for that object. So you could do it in a number of different places. And if you wanted to hide a bunch of them in a row, you can click and drag to kind of hide a range of these at a time. So if we wanted to, we could just drag right down, hide, and show. So it makes it really easy for you to do. Now, another little helpful trick as you're working the Layers panel, what you can do is we're aware of the ability to go to the View menu and choose Outline View and only see the outlines of these objects. But instead of going all the way up there, what you can actually do is come down here to your Layers panel, and if you Command click on the visibility icon, you can see the icon changes a little bit, and that's basically turning on outline mode for that layer. Now, what I'm going to do is I'd like to create a black background for this piece of artwork. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and we'll go over to our swatches panel, make sure that we fill this with black. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a square. As a matter of fact, I'm able to just click once with my mouse, and I'm going to create a shape that is 10 inches by 10 inches. And then I'll just reposition this on my artboard so that it's right up there in the upper left-hand corner. Now, if we look at our Layers panel again, you can see that we just drew a brand new path here. And what we could do is we could move that to the back. But I think what makes more sense is I'd like to put it on its own layer. Well, how do we do that? Well, right down here at the bottom of our Layers panel, we can click on the Create New Layer button to create a brand new layer. And I'm going to rename Layer 2. I'm going to rename that to Background. And what I'm going to do, we can see that we still have this object selected. And this little indicator right here indicates that this object is selected. And that's identifying it in my Layers panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that square up, and I'm going to drop it on the background layer. And you can see that we now have a red edge around our object because that was the color that was automatically assigned to the background layer. If we wanted to change that, you just kind of double click on this area to the right of the word or the name of the layer, and you could change the color right here. So we'll go ahead and click OK. And then the thing is that the background layer, I'm just going to collapse these right now, the background layer is above the artwork layer. So anything on the background layer is going to be on top of anything that's on the artwork layer. And so what I can do is I'm going to drag the background layer down until I see this heavy border. And when I let go, it's going to now rearrange the layers so that you can see how the layers themselves are stacked. So you have a lot of cool ways that you can alter your content here. Now the Layers panel has a lot of powerful features too. Down here at the bottom you can click on this search button, and that allows you to locate the selected object. So for example, let's say we click off of everything. I'm just going to click on this red object right now. And maybe you're thinking, where is that in my Layers panel? Where can I find it? Well, with that selected, you can just click on the search button, this locate object button, and it's going to expand the layer that it's on, and it's going to show you which object you have selected. And this may not seem very difficult right now, but in a more complex project, this can be very complex. The Layers panel can get really cluttered and you can have a lot of items. So this little button here makes it super easy for you to find a layer when you need it, or an object on a layer. I'm just going to click to deselect that. And then conversely, if you're looking in the Layers panel and you're like, well, where is this object in my artwork? What you can also do is you can click on this target button next to the name of the sublayer or object, and when I click on that, it's automatically going to highlight it in my artwork. So sometimes you have the opposite situation where you can see the objects in the Layers panel, but you can't really find it on your document. Now, in the same regards, I created this background layer, but as I'm working, you can see that I can easily select this and accidentally move it or adjust it. So I'm going to undo that. And the powerful thing about the Layers panel is that I can click on the box directly next to the visibility icon to lock that layer. And that way I can't accidentally click on this. You can see I'm dragging here, but it's not letting me select that because the layer is locked and protected. I don't have to worry about accidentally moving that later on in the future. There's a lot of options available in the Layers panel. If you go to the panel menu, you have a lot of options to duplicate your layer. You can delete layers in here, and you can even do complex operations like make clipping masks as well. So I'm going to click out of here, and you can see that layers are very powerful tools and aren't very hard to understand. And making good use of layers will help you to navigate your content and alleviate accidentally modifying artwork when you don't mean to. So make good use of layers in your own artwork, and you'll be really happy that you did.